That's what I was told.
You got some notes on the back of that, then. Do you want to elaborate on any of that?
Yeah. Now, when we went from into the expansion phase of the larger plant, they transferred me over there. I was known as the main operator because I had so much experience, because I was the old guy, you know. I had been doing it for years already. And I went with the flow. I thought, man, this is going to be great, you know. Years went by. Things weren't right. There were safety issues that were never addressed. You'd write work orders. Nothing would become. Equipment would sit that was never put into use when it was supposed to be used. Degasifiers for getting gases out of wastewater so that it wouldn't go to the atmosphere. That didn't work for years. And finally, one year they did get it to work. And it was an operator's one that busted open the manway and went in and cleaned the diffusers so that we could get air into it. We did the maintenance work. The operator was the maintenance worker. Now, where the hell was the maintenance man? That's what I want to know. I've seen tanks that had wastewater in them that spewed out the side because the acid ate it up. They'd throw a patch over it. I was scared to walk by that tank because I knew one of these days that whole thing was going to collapse. And I'm talking about you could probably fit 5 cars in there. I seen tanks overflow that held millions and millions of gallons of water and overflowed and filled in complete dikes areas the size of 2 blocks. And we had to walk through it with rubber boots. And it was over our rubber boots. You ask them, what's in here? Nah, don't worry about it. Just get your samples, get that equipment running. All right, fine, I'll go do it. So like a fool, you can run out there and you did it. Well, I wised up to it, and then one night I told the supervisor, I said, I ain't doing it no more. Because as you're walking through there, you're walking by these pumps, and you're looking at 40,000 volts running a piece of pump. And you're walking by this junction box, and it's sitting there right at water level, and you're thinking, I swear, I'd say, God, this is it. You know, I'm fixing to be fried. Because that's what went through my mind. I never was really that concerned about what was in the water till we pumped it down, and then the pavement would just start bleeding. The smell, it would gag you. The pie gas would be in puddles of liquid. If you stepped in it, your shoe would just burn. I mean, it was one of the most horrible things I've ever done in my life.
Can I ask you, could you define what pie gas is for the camera?
Pie gas is a type of vinyl chloride.
Come from the expansion. Pie gas. When they vent. It's got benzene in it.
Okay, that would be good enough. Just pie gas, one of the components of pie gas is benzene.
Okay. Pie gas would be one of the components of benzene, and you would have these puddles of it sitting on the pavement all over the place after the water went down. But I don't think that you understand the aspect here of a 1 block, 2 block area completely full of water, diked in, that's up to your knees. And you're having to walk through it, to run equipment, to get samples, to do your job. This is what it consists of. We had vehicles that we would drive through it, and the floorboards would just fall out from underneath the vehicles. I mean, it was horrible. They would have us, at one point, when I was a whistleblower, they would alter samples that were going to the bay. Okay? These samples would run for 24 hours by a metering pump. I would open every certain period of time for a certain period of time. Yeah. And it would take a certain amount of sample. Well, maybe that night plant didn't run good, so we had a bad discharge, sent some bad stuff to the bay. Well, that sample bottle had it in there. That next morning, first thing that would happen was a supervisor and a manager would meet at that sampling point, and the operators, and they would either dump it out and refill it and then send it to the lab. I seen my supervisor, I personally witnessed him. He told me to dump it out. And we're talking about a 5-gallon jug. Half of it is sediment of biomass and God knows what. We don't know because we didn't sample it. And the other half is clear water. So he takes it and he pours the clear water into this other 5-gallon jug and leaves all the sediment in this other jug. And he had told me to do that. And I told him, no, I ain't gonna do it. He said, well, now you're my accomplice. And I just said, no, fuck you, you know, this ain't gonna happen. And so the reason he did that the way he did it, because this water is temperature controlled. It has to be kept at 30-something degrees. So if he would have dumped all that water out, the temperature would have been way out of whack. So, you know, he had good water, say 3.5 gallons of it, sticks the good water underneath the spigot, fills the rest of the way up with good water, pours out the contaminants onto the pavement, says take it to the lab and we're going to go ahead and you do a chain of custody on it. Keep your mouth shut, you don't say a damn thing to nobody.
Okay. I'm going to go over to you right now and ask you to give sort of from a family point of view, what effect have you noticed on your own life because of your connection with Formosa? How has it affected your family? How has it affected your sense of security, your economic security, your do you feel safe? And those are the kind of things you can bring up, but do it by way of a story.
When he started at Formosa, we thought we had good income, good insurance. We thought we were a very fortunate family. He would start coming home and tell me these stories about what had happened at work. He had mentioned something about having to wade through the diked-in areas, and he'd come home and start having night sweats. The night sweats were so bad I could smell the chemicals coming out of his body. You could literally smell that chemical. He'd have night sweats. I'd have to strip the beds, wash, and it got me concerned because his laundry went through the same laundry washing machine that my children's laundry went through. He started this investigation as a whistleblower. I was very concerned for my children. We suspected that our phones were tapped. We suspected that our home was being watched. We had vehicles sitting out front with no identifying license plates. We were very insecure. We felt unsafe. When he had been diagnosed that he had the chemical exposure. The company wouldn't necessarily fire him. He was still an employee, but we had no income. They completely cut us off. They tried to starve us out. We had someone from the plant, to this day we don't know who the gentleman was, came to our home and told us, the rumor around the plant is, Dale, they plan on starving you out. They cut off his long-term disability, they cut off his short-term disability, they cut off everything. But they would not fire him. Oh no, you're still an employee. You're still on our employee list. Therefore, we had no income, but he was still employed. I cannot figure to this day how they could justify that. We did seek legal action, but to go from a good paying job with insurance for your family to having absolute zero income is devastating. I had 3 small children at that time. How are we going to feed our kids?
Tell them how we fed our kids.
Luckily, when we were warned, we sold off all of our livestock. We butchered a cow, put it in the pasture, planted a garden. We started putting trout lines out in the river. We lived real close to the river. My kids took catfish fillets to school to sell to the teachers so we could keep our electricity on.